Okay, so welcome to the second section of the questionnaire design and SPSS class. Now, I want to look at this questionnaire, the impact of gambling in the Nigerian society using Imo State and Abia State as a case study. So you want to look at two states as case studies. Hi, my name is Odi Carlo, Data Sciences, and I wish to seek your contribution. So this is very important. Unlike the very first one, we didn't have that, right? It's always good to state your name, state why you are conducting a research, tell people why it is important that they fill the form and what impact that is going to create. Because if that's one way to have high response rates. In the questionnaire design class, we looked at several things you need to do to make it possible for people to fill your questionnaire. If you make it too difficult for them, if you have so many ambiguous questions that people have to think a lot, it will be hard for people to fill the questionnaire. Then if you don't give some heads up or tell people why it's so important for them to fill it, then you might have very low response rate. So this is very nice. So personal details. Okay, I love the way this one is categorized. This is like my bio data, my some preliminary information. Then I'll examine them one after the other. First name, surname. So like we said, most of the times in your research work, you might not need this. Gender, provide options. Is it male, female?
Okay.
Is it male, female, and something else? Provide the options. Age.
Okay, yes.
Age. Fine. Occupation, provide options. Is it teacher, banker, this, that? That's why it's important for you to run a pilot survey. If you run a pilot survey, these same questions, people are going to fill the responses. So you could use that to categorize, or you could just look at 10 top professions. Some to the far up, down, middle class, then you could use other. Trader, banker, teacher, civil servant, businessman, consultant,
health worker,
IT professional, and all the rest. So you could have as many as 10, and maybe you cannot add others. Good. So occupation, then highest qualification, you should indicate, is this secondary, tertiary, or postgraduate? You should indicate it. You can even add primary school. If your research is going to go into rural communities, so you could say primary school, secondary, tertiary, and postgraduate. In some places, you're going to be saying, is it K9 or so? Then you say high school, then you say tertiary, then you say postgraduate. Location, address. Now, you will need to, since you are doing a study in Imo, Abia State, you need to break this stuff into local governments.
Okay.
So if I ask you, why choosing Imo and Abia? Why two states? So if you're going to use two states, then you're going to say, okay, they indicate their state, then indicate their the local government. So you have the list of local governments. So the list of local governments that you have, you indicate that's what they can select. Okay, so because if you just say location and address, it's difficult for people to choose what's going to make sense to you, because the idea is for us to analyze this stuff. Okay, so I have so many questions here that are yes, no. So you're going to work on them and you'll use Likert scale. So see, how do you see gambling? So this is not a nice way to do Likert scale, to have different degrees of either behavior or response or taste or whatever. So I've given you several examples, up to like 10, 15 Likert scale examples. So if you say good, bad, dangerous, you see this bad and dangerous, they are to the left. This is good, there's nothing to the right, there's nothing in the middle. So you should have about 5 or 7 if you've gone through that class. So do you gamble? Yes or no shouldn't be. So you should be asking, okay, do you know about gambling? Okay, this yes, no, or choose not to answer. Do you gamble? Do you know what gambling is? Okay, do you gamble? Yes, no. What type of gambling do you kindly tick? So I love this. You provided options: soccer, card, race, others. Yes. Have you gambled before? Yes. No. Would you like to try gambling? How do you see gambling? Good, bad. So you have to have up to like 5 options. So look at the Likert scale examples I gave. Have you won any gambling before? How much did you win? Okay. Have you lost any gambling? Okay. What are you trying to look at? Impact of gambling. Okay. Are you addicted to gambling? So who will answer that is addicted? So if you are asking how addicted, you are saying, okay, very addicted, or on, let me just look for some examples so that it could help you. Look at these examples. So if I want to use a 5-point scale, so look at this level of concern, satisfaction, agreement. Are you addicted to gambling? So strongly agree, disagree, neither agree or disagree, agree, strongly agree. You could ask questions like how frequent do you play, all, and the rest. So you now start using stuff like never, rarely, sometime, often, always. So there is actually a middle ground in all of these responses. So use standardized Likert scale to give response to your questions. Do you have any gambling shop in your area? Yes, no. How often do you play? Daily, weekly, yearly. Okay, that's nice. So do the corrections and send it. So I'm going to move on to any question before I get to SPSS. Questions so far? Questions so far, please. You can unmute yourself and ask your questions.
Okay, I was saying at the first question that came up there, do you know about gambling? Is there the best way? Is there any categorization you can do? Is there any Likert that you apply to that? You get me, sir?
So, Mama, let me open your question again since I've closed it.
Downloads.
So what's the question again?
The first question I asked on that column, which was, do you know what is gambling? Is there any specified Likert that you need to apply to this?
So it's for this kind of question is optional. If you want to get a direct answer, you could still leave it this way, yes, no, or you could choose to pick any of the Likert scale. Here you look at awareness.
Very unaware, neither aware, no. Okay, wait, very aware. Okay.
This aware actually is a mistake. Then very aware. So this you're trying to look at knowledge. Yes. So there are quite a lot of Likert scale because you see some people are actually not yes, or they are not even completely no. They may just have an idea. Some people even say, when you say, do you gamble? They've not gambled, but they've been around people that gamble. So you have to construct your question in such a way that if you could cater for all the different segments of the population that you're actually studying. Because if you just say a blanket yes, no, you might not get a real feel of what the data you have in your population. So that's going to limit your study. It's going to limit the kind of response you get, because people just say, I know. People are not even sure if what they consider as knowledge is even up to what you yourself as a researcher considered as knowledge. To say yes. Because somebody can feel like, okay, I know a lot. If the person doesn't even know so much because the person has not even gambled before. So you have to make sure that you provide options. So a yes, no is always a nice way to get responses and to do a proper survey. Imagine if you have, do you know what's your knowledge about gambling? And there's it's also important that you provide a description of the study and you could provide explanation on each of the questions that are kind of cumbersome that will be hard for people to respond to. Right? Okay, I think that's that. Any other question? So let's look at SPSS. Now, I'm going to close this. So SPSS is this, it's called Statistical Package for Social Sciences. So the free version is available for 30 days. So you have option of paying. I think there's a student version or a learning version of about $30-something. But for the next 30 days, you could use the free version to do all of your learnings. So you need to have an IBM account. When you get to the SPSS site, IBM site, I mean to say, you want to make sure that you register an account, you're able to download a free version. And when you download the free version, it will give you opportunity to use the SPSS software. And when you load the SPSS software, you will need to actually log in for the very first time. And you will need internet access to run the latest version of SPSS. So it was not like earlier on when they were not acquired by IBM, the business machine guys. But now you will need to be on the internet. Then this is just to take care of piracy and the rest. So I'll load the application, and once it comes up, okay, it's coming up. Once it comes up, we will explore the interface, see the kind of analysis that we can run, see how to enter data that we have from our questionnaire into the SPSS software. So this is coming up because I've worked on this before, so I'll just cancel this. And this is what the environment looks like for SPSS. Who can see this environment?
I can see it.
Okay, good. So SPSS have about 2, 3, 4 different screens. Once you load the software, you have what we call the data view, and we have the variable view, right? You have what we call the data view, and we have the variable view. So you have some set of, just like any software, you have some menus: file menu, edit menu, view menu, data menu, transform menu, analyze, graph, utilities, extension, windows, help, right? Now, we're going to be focusing on how to run exhaustive exploratory data analysis. We're going to learn how to get charts, bar charts, and run some kind of statistics tests. So aside you getting your questionnaire, getting data off of it, we're going to also use in our next class some sample data sets and run some exhaustive analysis like descriptive analysis, frequency analysis. We're going to be running some, learn how to generate your code book. That's what we call code book. Learn how to generate your code book, run some, what's it called, exploratory data analysis. Also run some ratio, run some maybe tables, run some regression analysis, run some correlation analysis. So there are quite a number of analysis you can run using SPSS. So, but we'll keep it simple. So that for most types of statistical analysis you want to run, you're able to use the tool SPSS to run them, get your data, then interpret the data. So first thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to pick up an existing data set I have and just run 1 or 2 analyses so that you see what it looks like. Then you can now start doing something from scratch. So this is what a completed work on SPSS looks like. It has a variable view, a data view. So in SPSS, if you have 10 questions, they are going to become 10 variables. Most of us have done variables. Variable is a container for a data, right? It can be a numerical data, it can be float, it can be string, it can be anything. So we're going to learn how to enter them one after the other. But I have a completed work. I want to run some analysis and you see what it looks like, what your goal is going to be at the end of the day. So once you first enter the variables, then you go to the data view, you enter all of the respondents. For instance, in this case, we have about 700 respondents, right? 700 persons responded, right? So this is a survey on HIV, pregnant women. So if I click on Analyze and say Descriptive Statistics and run some descriptive tests, or let me start with a frequency test, right? Or frequency analysis. This is very, very basic. All of the variables I have, I want to just run some frequency analysis. If you're using Python, like in our Python class, the normal thing you would do was to just do a describe or an info. It will tell you how many of the variables you have. I'll click on chart to select the kind of chart I want. Okay. Click on statistics. Do I want first quartile, second quartile, third quartile? Do I want some central tendencies like the mean, like the median? Do I want standard deviation? Do I want to do the minimum or the maximum of each of those items? I just continue. If I tick all of the things I want, I just say okay, and that's all. I just need to wait for some seconds. SPSS will present to you all of the descriptive analysis for all the variables I have selected. And it's also going to plot the charts that I've also indicated. I will explain then before we now attempt to start entering our data set ourselves. See what it looks like? Questions, please. So this is just like an overview of a simple test you can run on SPSS. So your goal as an analyst is to be able to get the data, enter it on the software, run the analysis, interpret it, and write your report. Questions, please.
Okay. Hello, sir.
Yes.
These items now,
Yes.
do you work with it as like to get your research? What's the main aim of this SPSS? What's the main aim of each usage?
Analysis.
Analysis. Okay, when you have gotten your data ready, when you have done your research,
Yes.
this helps you to give a result of whatever you have accumulated from your data.
So with SPSS, you could, all the data you've collected, you could, we're going to do all of that. You enter it, you can run the test. It gives you something like this. You can copy this, put into your SPSS, interpret it, and write your report. Okay. So imagine, say I have a report of age, a bar chart of age. So I can tell that, what's it called? Age 30 to 35 have more of the items. They were all females. Marital status, more and more married. I see that most of them do business, right? Level of education, more people tertiary. So I have a simple exploratory analysis of my data set, both as per chart and also statistics. See the statistics are indicated. This is the mean of the age. This is the mean of the gender. This is the mean of occupation. So actually, because of the way they were coded, mean and median will not mean so much. You understand that later on.
Yes, yes.
Frequency, this is how many percent of 20 to 25, 54 persons, which contributes 7.7% of the 700. One person was missing, did not enter age. 36 to, if you check the highest percent now, you see that it is what is it called?
75.
75, I believe it's 75. Percent, it should be 30 to 35. No, this is the frequency. From here to here, 1, 2, 3, 4. That was the 4 age group. This is the percent. Invariably, this is 54 over 700. 202 over 700. 273 over 700. That's the percent you're getting here.
Okay.
So this is valid percent. So how many of the items do you have that is valid, right? So it's still almost the same thing. This one, I think there's missing, so that's why I contributed to this. Then this is cumulative percent. So your interest actually, how many are they and how many percent do they contribute to the, is it in respect to the total population? This for gender, this for marital status, this for occupation. So this is a descriptive analysis of the entire data set. How many of them are in their first trimester, the female, the women? How many are in their second trimester? How many in their third trimester, right? So, but when this data came in, data didn't come in as per first trimester, second trimester. It was just how many weeks pregnant. So you are the one as the analyst to now properly do your research and categorize this stuff the way you should do. So you can, you will now have to put in the trimesters or the weeks into the right trimester. So you see that we can now have more of them are in their final third trimester. If you see the chart for trimester, what is it called? For trimester, this is it, gestational period. Are you there? For instance, I can cancel this if I want to run an analysis, for instance, and do some kind of cross tabulation. I want to have maybe age and their gestational period, as in like two stuffs in a column. Do I want to indicate some statistics? Maybe no. I just say okay. Do I want to indicate a cluster bar chart? I say okay. I wait for the analysis. It's going to run and it's going to present to me, right? I could copy this to Word document. Just copy this, right? Or Control A and pick up everything that you need, right? And you're good to go. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, yes, ask your question, please.
This is Jay.
Okay, right on.
Okay. I'm kind of asking if we collect our data with our questionnaires now.
Yes.
Will it be that IBM will be working independently on that data, or we will still need a Python to do the data cleaning before we could?
Good. So it's optional. If you're good in doing data cleaning, sorting, transformation, blah 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 on Python, do that in Python before you bring it into SB. Now it also depends on the type of analysis. So I wouldn't do comparison now. So by next week, when we've gone a little bit far into running different types of analysis using SPSS, and once you have enough data sets, because we're going to be using some additional, I'm just trying to do an overview for now, right? Once you start using some real data, this is actually real data set. This is an actual research that I just concluded. By the time you start using some data sets to run some analysis, you will now start seeing the thin line difference between using SPSS and using Python to run analysis yourself. I want to explain that. So with time, you will see the differences on what you should do with Python, what you should do with SPSS. At that particular time, when I ask you questions, then I will now like ask you the question. Once you reply, I will now give you clear-cut differences between these tools. All of these tools, any of them can do data cleaning, data normalization, data transformation, and the rest. But as data analysts, we're looking for which tool can do the job fast, best, with ease.
Yes, with ease. I like that.
So which of the tools can do the job for us fast, swiftly, with ease? Are we together?
Yes, sir.
So that's where you now see that there are some times that it might be good to just import into SPSS as CSV, run your info, blah, 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 create new columns, and save the CSV, then maybe now start bringing it here. But most of the times, one of the reasons why in the data science class we are combining like 2-3 tools is because of the variety of the kind of research we're going to be doing. There's a kind of research work you are going to be doing that trying to do that with Python would be like an overkill.
Okay.
So you will just need to code everything into SPSS, do data entry, and run your analysis. So there's a kind of CSV file you can import to SPSS. That's not the kind of CSV file that you're going to be using in Python. Python can deal with the data as it is like that. SPSS will not deal with that. SPSS, you have to code into the way SPSS will understand. And that's part of what we're going to be learning. Are we together?
We are together, sir.
Any other question?
From these entries from 1 to 700.
Yes.
That we just, if there should be an omission, will this indicate?
Yes, it indicates. Let me run it again. You see it's missing value. 50 frequencies. Okay. It indicates missing values. How many of the values are missing? Right. So if you mistakenly did not, even Python tells us that, true or false. Python will tell us that so for each, if you run dataframe.info function, it will tell you that, okay, I have this variable 700, this variable 698. That means 2 is missing. It will tell you.
Okay.
Same thing here. If you're on SPSS, let's go to look at missing system. Missing the system is 1. In age, you have 1 missing. In gender, 1 missing. Marital status, 1 missing. In occupation, 1 missing. Level of education, 1 missing. If it's small, you go to state it. Okay. So I'm going to go back and use the data for Obiora. Obiora, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So I have started coding the data for Obiora. So I will just open it and offer some explanation before we call it a day. So let me go to desktop. SPSS test. So the SPSS file is saved as what was it called? The SPSS file is saved as a SAV. That's what you need to understand. It's saved as SAV. The file is saved as SAV, just like Python is saved as PY, and the Jupyter Notebook file is saved as IPYNB. Excel is as XLS or XLXS. So here we want to look at this data set, this particular one. Let me delete this particular questionnaire, and how do we enter it into SPSS? So I will do this in 2 series, 10 minutes part and another 10 minutes part. Okay, so if you get into SPSS in the environment, the first thing you want to do is to go to your variable view and you enter and declare all the variables. Right? So what are the conditions for entering variables? So you need to make sure that your variable does not start with a number. It should not have space in between, right? So those are some of the characteristics of a variable. And we say the variable is just a container, right, that holds your data. So if my questionnaire have 10 questions, I'm going to have 10 variables. So if I open a blank SPSS sheet, I click on variable view and I enter gender, age, address, age, closest facility, type of health facility, because those are the questions I have here. I've ignored name of patient. So I have gender, address, age, closest facility, type of healthcare, health facility reported, date of onset. So I have all these questions like that. I will just write them as the variable names. Make sure there's no space in between. If I want to use space, I can use underscore. So you write all the questions here. You declare them as variables. Then in the labels, you can now write the question just like it is, because when you start on the analysis, that's what it's going to show in the charts and in the tables. Questions, please. Any question?
Yes, I was trying to say, what's the reason of skipping the name? Is it because of confidentiality?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other question?
Also, the essence of this no spacing, that means it's almost work like Python, like you said.
Yes.
The same principles.
Yes.
Or similar principles apply.
Yeah.
Okay,
so you have all the names entered. So for your research work, I also love us to do research work that actually people can fill up. We can put on Google Form and people fill up for us, and we can do the analysis by next weekend. I'll prefer that. Like your gambling research work is good. A lot of people will fill it, right? See how to adapt so that it's something that people can communicate with and feel. Like Obiora that is doing something on AFP might not be too common. So if you can change another topic, have a set of 10 questions, 15 questions, let's have it on Google Form. By within the week, I will do a record for you guys on how to structure and put your questionnaires into Google Form. Then let's have it on Google Form so that by Monday, Tuesday, we send it out. By weekend, Saturday, Sunday, we would have gotten like 50, 60, 70, 100 respondents, and we should not be running the analysis on SPSS.
Okay.
Mr. J, are you there? Obiora, are you there? Carlo, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yeah, Carlo is here.
So let's work on that. Have research and questions that we can actually code and send out to people, share on WhatsApp group, send to our friends, families, and loved ones. They could help us fill it. We have 100 respondents so that you cannot do the research end to end yourself, because you've defined an objective, you've done data collection, you've done design questionnaire, you've done data collection, you've done data entry, you're running analysis, then you're able to also do some forecast. You can still even use this data if it's sizable enough in your Python to do linear regression model. Are we together? So in your SPSS, you have the names, then you have different types of variables. Just like in Python, we normally say you have numeric that is maybe integers or float, you have Boolean, you have string, you have dictionary, you have all of those types of data sets. It's possible here. But SPSS has some type of data set. If you click on this type and indicate here, you will see the option SPSS has. So there's numeric, there's comma, dot, scientific notation, date, dollar, or you could use a custom currency, strange, restricted numeric. The three most common ones you will get to use is the numeric, date, maybe currency, and maybe strange. But most of the times, because you're going to be doing some kind of descriptive analysis where you want to be doing counting, where you want to be doing comparative analysis, most of the times you're going to be using numeric. We're going to see as when we run other analysis, how this can change. Now, you see width just have to do with the length of the entry that you're going to be entering, because most of the times you're going to be entering ones and zeros, like you see here, data view, just ones and zero, because each of them are going to be representing different things. You understand as we move on. In decimals, having decimal places, most of the times is going to be zero for something like age. If you are doing like body mass index, like maybe naira or dollar that have cents, or naira that have kobo, or any currency or something that have the decimal point, then you can indicate whether it's 1 or 2. Then this label is very important, because this way you can spell out the question. Because when your chart comes up, let me just undo. When your chart comes up, you see the way this chart is,
Yes.
See, it's telling me bar chart of age. Age is actually the variable name. You see all of these first trimester, second trimester, this is how the labels are, or rather the options.
Okay. Oh, yes.
The options. And where are the options? Where do we have the options? You have the options in these values. Because if you collect gender, what are the values you want? So you can add 0 for male, 1 for female, 2 for don't know.
Transgender.
What do you call it?
Okay, a transgender now. No, don't know.
So you now see that what you're going to be entering in the data view is not going to be zeros and ones and twos.
Choose.
Just like you saw in that other completed survey. That's always what you use for these values.
Okay.
In address, if you tap on it, you could add locations. 0, location 1, 2, 1, location 2, 2, location 3. You can add locations. If it's Abia, Umaya, Adamawa, Yola, Oka, like that, you list the locations. So that when the software is running its results, it's going to be returning its results based on this. So that when the plot comes out, it comes out with the labels.
Okay.
Okay. So that's what you're going to do for the name. You indicate for the type, indicate the label, the questions, indicate the values. Then for another important one here is the measure. So you're going to indicate what type of measure. Now, to make it simple, I'm going to provide a document that explains all the different, the 3 most common measures we have in SPSS, which is a scale, ordinary, nominal, right? So I will give you all the different types of variable that classifies as scale, all the different variables that classify as ordinal, all the different variables that classify as nominal. So would that be fine?
Okay.
Good. Any question?
No question for me.
How many of us have SPSS installed? I'll pause the record. Okay, just a moment. I will pause the record here so that we can write it down.
I do.